All right, so let's transition into some of the lead nurture stuff, because it's today where I want to leave us here is having a lot of clarity about this piece here. A ton of clarity, right? And like we have other trainings, and we'll probably do some more breakouts on each of these other sections here. But I really want to make sure that you guys understand what this is about and what needs to be in place. Cool. When somebody comes in as a new lead, one of the things we want to do first is indoctrinate them as to who we are. Right? We want to build a relationship with them and give them some ideas about, who we are, who we help, how we do it, and how you learned it. I'm still working through exactly what this looks like, but I'm going to have some recommendations for you guys on what is the first 4 emails that someone who is new into your lake, what should they know about you? Like, this is an opportunity to build that relationship, get them up to speed. Like, think of this as the first date, right? These first 4 emails, if you were going to go on a new date, I don't know why I'm on the dating thing. I guess it just works. Some days I talk about restaurants and some days I talk about dating. Today it's dating. So, if you were going to go to on a first date, there's probably, no matter who you met with, there's probably some categories of things that you would cover to share about yourself, right? And so we want to look at this as the same opportunity here, right? Once we have given them this indoctrination, we then want to move them into long-term nurture. And this is where, we look at the types of emails or types of communications we want to send them are, in our opinion, we want to send, the ratio is 3 to 1. Feed, fish. So feed is relationship building, conversations, education, helping them understand who you are. A fish is more like an offer. Like, hey, I've got this thing. Like, this is like, whatever you said, Jerry, 10 baguettes for $1 or whatever, right? Like, and what I see the mistake people making is that they treat they only email when they got something to sell. How many of you guys are on an email list like that, right? It sucks. Right? It's just like, okay, I'm getting the email that's clearly coming up to this holiday or whatever else. Like, and now they're emailing me, right? But what about all the opportunities to date, right? I'm sure there's an analogy for that too. I'm not going to go into it, but if all we wanted was this main score here, like, and we never put any of the time of the relationship, like, how successful would this be, right? Guys, this is not a hard and fast rule. Like, this is just a general recommendation that when you are nurturing people, what are the kinds of things, what is the frequency of what you're talking about, such that you're looking at building that kind of relationship. So the idea here is that someone's going to loop through here as many times as it takes to turn them into a qualified prospect. And so, like, what kinds of things might we talk about in feed versus fish, right? So, like, if we could just agree, like, right now, fish is, let me get the pen here. So fish would be things like, making an offer, right? We talk about reply back campaigns, right? If that's a new term to you, simply what that is us saying, hey, I could run a report for you about where you're ranking in Google right now. We have a bunch of them pre-written, or when it comes to reviews, it's the review beta test. So I'm running a test to see, it'll show you reviews that you didn't know you had. Who'd like me to run it for them, right? It's getting them to reply back. Like, this might be like other offers, like your Black Friday offer, or this could be simply like a webinar invite.
Mm-hmm. You like it in person, like,
end of year, right? Hey, let's do some strategy. It could be anything that's just getting them to respond to either buying something directly or scheduling a meeting, right? So if that's this stuff here, well, the feed stuff tends to be things like education. Mm-hmm. So helping people understand what's going on, like give them stats on what's going on. It could be something like asking them a question, right?
Right.
Simple question like, hey, how is business going for you guys these days, right? It'd be giving them stuff that's like timely, right? What kind of news might be going on with your business, like either like some change that Google made or things that would happen there, right? Mm-hmm. So these are easy to come by, but a lot of people don't do this. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't do an education and be like, hey, let me talk to you. Does anybody know how Google actually ranks you in the maps? And let me tell you about how that works. And it doesn't mean you can't have a soft ask here, right? Hey, if you want more information, just hit reply, let me know, right? But when we look at the intent of the email, the intent should be feed or the intent should be fish, right? And that's what this is about. That's what this dating is all about. So that way we start to build this. The thing is that most people don't send any emails to their list except for when it comes to phishing, right? And that's where I think people make that mistake.
I was just thinking for feeding, it could be just stuff about your company. Maybe you won an award. Maybe somebody on your team was recognized. Maybe someone on your team speaking somewhere. It's like credibility indicators like that. It could be storytelling.
And so when we look at, the overall the way, right? And that's what's happening right here. That's when they're coming to your CRM, we're doing feed and we're doing fish. And this whole loop is hopefully going to kick out opportunities to activate them. And in some cases, as I'll show you right now, so this line's important here, because sometimes, understand that we might want to get someone to initial discussion. The people in your lake, are brand new, but they could be existing clients, right? They don't have to be people I don't want you to think that your lake is only people you're not doing business with, right? There's certainly the cold leads, but they're also the people already paying you. They're the people that you know from your networking contacts. They're your strategic alliances. They're people who you sit on boards with and nonprofits. They're your friends, your family that own businesses, or people who are of influence, circle of influence. It's all the people living in here. And sometimes that might kick out an opportunity to go right here. And so let me show you. So we just looked at this, right? We just looked at this idea, but understand, that's only phase one. And so what we just looked at was this center column here. So the other thing that we need to look at is what are other phishing campaigns and what are the other feeding campaigns, right? And so this is what we just looked at. So a phishing campaign might be inviting someone to a webinar, right? Could be other seasonal and timely campaigns hey, it's time to renew this contract. Let's go ahead and meet. Could be reply back campaigns, other offers and surveys or promotions, or other lead magnets, right? Simply just saying, hey, we've got this new lead magnet. It's all about social media. Would you like it? And getting people to ascend and start having conversations. When we look on the other side, when it comes to feeding campaigns, what about retargeting? I feel like retargeting is one of the most no-brainer things every business on the planet should do, including agencies and including all your clients. If we spent all this money and time to get someone to interact with us in some way, why wouldn't we want to have among the most affordable advertising to get back in front of them, right?
Or stay top of mind, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. All right. So the idea is that certainly there's a long-term nurture that's coming here, but what we want to do is that doesn't mean that we can't put on-demand phishing or feeding campaigns in addition to this. I want you to think of this as this piece here as the engine that's always running no matter what. It's always sending out, you're always sending email, you're always nurturing and nurturing, feeding and feeding and feeding and phishing. But that doesn't mean that there's other times we don't want to accelerate or boost the business. For example, if you're heading into the year and you're wanting to do a campaign related to something that, Black Friday or maybe it's seasonal thing where you're just trying to get somebody into a webinar, you can always augment this process with these other kind of campaigns, right? We can choose to add to this. And I think what I see most businesses doing is that they're really good at this stuff for a while, and then they stop, right? And then business slows down and they're like, oh, I should have done this. But then they jump right into doing a phishing campaign and they're wondering why their webinar invites aren't working that well. Well, guess what? You haven't been building the relationship. Nobody wants to attend your webinar because they don't even know who the heck you are. And you just showed up on their doorstep and said, hey, let's show up to my webinar, right? Or you said, you know what? It's the end of the year and you should all be doing strategy sessions with our agency. And they're like, who are you? Or of course, it's a thinly veiled attempt to do business with us, right? When you hadn't been, planting these things and making them happen, right? On the other side, the feeding campaigns, right? I was mentioning that retargeting is one of the simplest no-brainer things that any business can do. We spend all this work to get people in front of people. Why wouldn't we have retargeting set up for our agencies, right? That's so easy to do. Social organic post. The same stuff that we're doing inside here for our feeding can happen here. And it's just repurposed content that goes into our social content. Friending and following leads. Now, some people push back on this. It's I like to keep my Facebook just for Aunt Sally and for what she's up to, right? Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you that one of the cheapest, most effective ways to reach your clients and customers is your organic Instagram and Facebook feeds. It's awesome, right? Facebook is a platform that some say is on a decline, right? That there's less user growth than compared to other platforms like TikTok and other places. They are highly motivated to share the content that you organically post, okay? So why wouldn't you be friends or follow the people who are your clients and customers, right? It's an easy way to get some of the same organic posts in front of the eyeballs here and build those relationships for both feed and fish campaigns. You can post fresh and timely content, both by email or social. And then any other kind of conversation starter campaigns. It's called the 6-word email or something like that, or 9-word email. It's like, the idea of just getting someone to reply back to a campaign by saying, hey, are you still interested in rebuilding that website that we talked about last year? Hey, are you still interested in getting more customer activity, right? Like those are easy things to start conversations, either from a fish standpoint or just because you're dating them, because you're getting to know them. And all this is in service to getting people into this idea here of creating a qualified prospect. And that is what gives us the ability here to kick people out into activating them or into playbooks, right? Either getting them into that easy to say yes service like review lead or into a playbook. So can you see how like having this machine running all the time, making sure you're fishing, and then anytime you want to add additional fuel into this can help to create more activity here. So when it comes to warming your own leads and being in control of your lead flow, this is how you do it.
Right. This is how you convert leads into prospects, right? Which is what I think most people want when they're doing lead generation. They really want prospects. They're just missing this one component.